crisis intervention training, CIT, that's what he was talking about. And he said it's on the website, everything else program should have been in place, but it never implemented it, and it's not funded. So,
Okay. So we've had crisis intervention training in the Sheriff's Office since 2006. And we recently implemented the state standard of crisis intervention training, which has a different set of criteria. This initiative was done along with the Fairfax County Police Department, as well as the towns of Hernan, Vienna, and I believe the city of Fairfax. And this training is very specific in terms of one of the initiatives is to ensure that law enforcement officers, whether they're deputy sheriffs or police officers, have the skills, knowledge, and ability to try and de-escalate situations where an individual may be exhibiting behavior that is consistent with someone suffering from a mental illness. So again, by implementing the state standard, we have, we're only allowed to train 25% of our staff, and the classroom size cannot exceed, it normally doesn't exceed 20. So we've already had 3 or 4, I think 3 classes, and we're continuing between this initiative with the Sheriff's Office as well as with the Police Department to get folks through this training. And again, it's something that it's not going to happen overnight, but we are committed to ensuring that our staff have the best tools. And again, we've taken it a step further in that we have incorporated scenarios that are based on correctional environments, so they're more tailored to the Sheriff's Office. So that's what we have done with crisis intervention training.
okay.
Recently, in a Fairfax Times article, that the deputies don't need crisis intervention training, that we just wait for the police officers to bring in people, and that we have nothing to do with diversion. So, and that was in a Fairfax Times article, which I guess somebody has removed from the Fairfax Times, but Pete Burley, who's actually a mental health advocate, who I work quite a bit with, published an article and was just questioning my opponent's comments about that. And saying that because we have had quite a bit to do, even with the Diversion First program, which I helped spearhead in Fairfax County. So, but
actually, I think probably the best solution would be is they should have a quick interview, and if someone is high risk, should not even get into the facility. They should be just immediately sent to the hospital for processing.
Well, we can't, and just so you'll know, we can't send them just to St. Elizabeth's, and even if somebody is found to be psychotic or experience a psychotic episode, the law doesn't provide to just, and again, we're not talking about trespassing, we're not talking about a minor crime, but, and I think and again, if you're not familiar with the Sheriff's Office, and one doesn't understand the workings and what it is that we actually do, because we have about 40% of our inmates suffering from mental illness. It's not a quick and easy where you're able to just redirect and reroute, but what we're working on currently, part of the Diversion First program, which my opponent doesn't believe in, he says it's a waste of taxpayers' money, is to establish a Diversion First, which is already a county-wide collaborative initiative. Diversion First, which is a county-wide collaborative initiative, which I helped spearhead in trying to divert folks into treatment as opposed to bringing them to jail. And crisis intervention team training is excellent. We've incorporated it. We believe in it. We continue to have classes to get our folks the state certified 40-hour crisis intervention training, but without a place to divert folks. Unfortunately, the crisis intervention team training is only part of what is actually needed. So we need diversion, and there's no place to divert folks once they come, they're arrested and they're brought to jail. We don't have any place to divert them.
Right, right, right. Yeah, so, no, actually then the government needs to get more aware of that, and so that they would, as soon as they come in and take an interview. Do you have a question? That's my question.
Okay.
Do you have a psychiatric on duty that, I mean, I'm talking about doctor,
for like a psychiatrist or a medical doctor or
No,
what's-
psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist? We have a psychiatrist that provides 16 hours of service to our jail once a week, which is really not enough. So what I have done is I've implemented 24/7 telepsychiatry. So that way, an individual that's suffering a mental health crisis is able to be seen by a psychiatrist. And again, it goes back to the funding, so this is why we come up with creative ways in terms of how we can make things work. But again, we're working on mental health reform, we're working on ensuring that we've got places to divert folks. If it's too easy to bring somebody to jail, again, that's not acceptable. There is also an assessment center in Merrifield, which we expect to be running 24/7 sometime after the first of the year. And I have designated and allotted 2 positions from my agency to have deputy sheriffs, along with police officers, work at that assessment site for purposes of not only security, but also main purposes of providing transfers to mental health facilities, psychiatric hospitals.
Yeah, I think that pretty much does it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, for this purpose, for this election campaign, which is,
Yeah, I think that there's been a lot of confusion, and primarily because you can talk about crisis intervention team training all day long, and that can be, that's great.
yeah.
But there's more to it than just crisis intervention training. You have to have, buy-in from partners. It's about partnerships. It's about making sure you've got people not only from public safety, but also from advocacy groups, from the judiciary, from the magistrate's office, the Commonwealth Attorney's office, folks that have been a part of the judicial system at the table to make something work, because it's not only buy-in, but it's people paying attention and realizing that we have to do more for our most vulnerable population, and it shouldn't take a tragedy for people to start paying attention.
Right, right. Well, I think it's public awareness.
It is public awareness, but
And I've been experimenting with this for several years, and I do lots of software for it. I'm essentially an IT person. So I want to use the technology to get your message out, because message never gets out, and they think everything is normal, everything is going calm. You bring things up, and people really don't have time to pay attention to it.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, crisis happens, and they say, "Oh my God," they start pointing fingers at each other, and I think that time is already too late. So it's like crisis. You should not even get to crisis level. It's like the right kind of people should be going to the right places. The people who really need to be in the hospital, they should be in the hospital. So now what I'll do is actually, is there a place where I can send you, where you can let me know if the video is good?
sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'll provide